Hey guys, how's it going? Companion here. So to follow up on my last Blackrock Mountain video, in the spirit of the expansion, the whole dragon thing, I kind of wanted to review all the legendary dragons because you don't really see these days. I mean, yeah, sometimes you run across them in like Arena. Sometimes Sneed's old trader decides to deliver one on the board and you've never seen that card before. And yeah, it's because most of them kind of suck or they're too slow or they're just a bit outdated. And they may not update these cards. They haven't really buffed cards. I mean, Blizzard's history is they leave them the same or they nerf them. And there's not really much to nerf in this case, but maybe they'll get some buffs, though probably not. So you may want to use some of these cards. Why would you want to use that? Because as mentioned in the original Blackrock release video that I made, some cards have triggers if you're holding a dragon, and that's a pretty interesting aspect of the game. It's something that hasn't been seen before in Hearthstone, and it kind of makes it so if you have a deck that can float a bunch of cards that aren't too terrible, with enough draw, maybe if you're a warlock, something like that, maybe you can actually use these in the dragon themed decks that you'll probably, well, hopefully, certainly try after the expansion launches. So I wanted to go over all the cool little dragons here, and I ordered them from my least to most favorite. So we got here first Nozdormu. This is the sleeper dragon. He used to be in Caverns in Time in World of Warcraft. He used to be like the biggest badass ever. I think he was my favorite dragon in World of Warcraft. But in this game, well, if he worked, he might be my favorite dragon, but as it turns out, it just doesn't work. It says players only have 15 seconds to take their turns, but it's not. It's not actually 15 seconds. It's like more than that. I don't know how much more, but sometimes it feels like it's almost a regular turn, and it really frustrates me because when I play this, I try to click the end turn button as fast as possible. So you kind of make it so the opponent has like as few seconds as possible to react to actually make his effect relevant in the game, but that's just not really the case. This card was most relevant in Hearthstone when there was a bug with secrets that took them like forever to resolve. You'd play a bunch of crappy secrets and then Nozdormu, and in the time that a secret would resolve, it'd basically eat up half the turn of the opponent. So past that, this card just really sucks, man. 8/8, big game fodder, 9 mana, makes it so you can't really play him with anything, doesn't really do anything the turn that you play him. It is just garbage. You're better off just playing Force Tank Maxes in your deck if you want some big dudes. Next up on the list is Deathwing. Now, some people really like Deathwing, but I really hate Deathwing because whenever I seem to play him, it gets hard removed. And I don't like losing my hand. I don't like going into top deck mode scenario every single time. But the Battlecry is really cool and it actually makes him a very strong arena card. Yeah, in Arena, people run a lot of heavy removal cards, a lot of hard removal cards, seemingly making it so he's complete garbage. But on the other hand, in Arena, the game often goes into the top deck mode anyway. So if you're in the top deck mode, you just save him as your last card and you just blow him up when you feel like you're behind. So it kind of makes sense there, but still, there's a few big game hunters roaming around the arena parts, so there are some drawbacks, but he's quite good in arena, just not when I play him apparently. But in constructed, aside from like ramp druid that dumps all the mana dumps all the cards to accelerate in mana and sometimes play Deathwing, there's really not much showing of this card, and it is a little bit of a shame, especially now with creatures being so much stickier than before, with all the death rattle garbage that keeps coming up in the game as it keeps evolving. This card is just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, especially given the fact that, I mean, turn 10, game's over by that point. Not even decided, the game's over. The game's decided by like turn 5 in a lot of these matches these days, and yeah, doesn't even make it to turn 10. Then you got Onyxia. Onyxia is a pretty cool card. I think if Onyxia just cost one less mana crystal, it could have significantly worse stats. It'd be pretty damn good. But as of right now, Onyxia is really only played in Constructed Druid because you can combo him and, buff up all little minions with all the druidy things with Soul Force, Power of the Wild, and Cenarius sometimes. There's ways to make 1/1s really useful, and Druids kind of get around with a 9 mana thing with Innervate, unlocking 2 more mana crystals for that turn, and it makes some combos pretty cool. Sometimes the 1/1s are pretty hard to remove, but yeah, again, it's a 9 mana card, so it doesn't really matter. But when the expansion comes out, I think some of these cards might see a little bit of play, because if you're playing like an aggressive deck that still has enough card draw not to really run out of cards too frequently, you might be able to float a card like this, maybe, if the holding the dragon thing is relevant enough. Next up on this is Alistraza. Now you guys are pretty familiar with this card because it's very frequently used in Freeze Mage, and it's very frequently used, actually it's just about all control warriors use the card. You can use it as a heal if you're really low, or you can use it aggressively. In Arena, this card is absolute garbage because by the time you get to turn 9, basically both players are at 15 life anyway. And you have, again, that problem of, yeah, if you're behind, you can heal, but if you're behind, just playing one dude, one thing that turn, not being able to perform that action, just kind of screws you over. But Freeze Mage having the ice block, having that extra turn, and Control Warrior just starting the turn with way over the starting 30 life because of their armor pool, they can afford to do that. A warrior, I mean, if it's at 50 life with a weapon equipped, who gives a crap if it's the only thing you can play? So that's kind of the issue, and that's a very repeating thing among the dragons. They're just too one-dimensional, and as the game gets more and more complex, it's harder to play them. So that's really the drawback. Then you have Ysera. Ysera was really my all-time favorite card up until somewhat recently, when GVG released some cooler things and the game changed in a fairly complex way. But here we go, Ysera. So you get some pretty awesome dream cards, and this is basically the original win the game by itself card. I mean, yeah, so there are some class cards like Tyrion that do that, but Ysera was like, you know, if the game is slow enough where you could play Ysera, if you didn't play Ysera, you would lose the control matchup because you didn't play Ysera. So Ysera would be that card where if you're absolutely out of steam, but if you have enough life, enough armor perhaps to play him, and it doesn't play her, and it doesn't die instantly when you play it, yeah, you're basically just going to win, because when you get like an awaken, clear the board, you start dreaming, things just gets out of control really quick. Basically, the rule of thumb back in the day used to be if you had Ysera on the board and it was still alive after 2 turns, you're basically going to win that game 100% of the time. So that card's really cool for that factor. It still sees some play in Arena, it still sees some play in Constructed, because some decks can't afford to use it. Decks that are slow, but are slow because of a lot of reactionary removal cards, sometimes Priest, sometimes Warrior, when they want to run like big heavy creatures to tackle the board after they've removed everything, Ysera is a pretty good card because it's like such a heavy legendary, it can kind of make up for the fact that you might have fewer. So if you only, if let's say you wanted to go from 5 legendaries down to 4, you would consider replacing 2 for a Ysera. It's kind of the aspect, but again, if you run out of cards, Ysera is a good one. And last on the list, my personal favorite right now is Mr. Malygos. He shares the 412 stats as Ysera, as we'll probably see a few more of the dragons show up with these kind of stats in the Blackrock expansion. So Malygos doesn't really seem that impressive. He doesn't have like some super cool, super unique effect. He just has spell damage, but it's 5, and I can tell you that 5 is a lot of spell damage. And this is one of the scariest cards in Constructed, because Constructed is a finely tuned machine right now. And if you see this card played against you in Constructed, you don't really take it for its stats. You don't like look at it, it's like, oh, 412, spell, yeah, I don't know. I guess I could just leave it on the board. Now, if there's a deck and this card is in the deck, if it lives 1 turn, you are going to lose the game. So that makes it really interesting, and it pretty much develops different decks because of it. Like 5 spell damage is so much, and 12 health is really hard to remove in 1 turn, that you can reliably play this card and win the game the next turn because it's not removed. And yeah, in Constructed, it's a little bit slow right now. We saw a lot of rogues use the card. Some druids used to use the card. It's fairly rare these days, but it is still pretty cool. Sometimes you have an amazing arena run because of this card, but it's a little bit infrequent. The druids used to use it, again, because of the innervate factor, the drawback of the card being just like all the other dragons, it just costs too much. And the rogues used to use it because of the prep factor, so they could combo spells. You could play Malygos and prep like an Eviscerate if you really wanted, then do some other crazy stuff like Backstab, Sinister Strike, yeah. It got a little crazy sometimes with rogues, that's why it's pretty good for the classes. But all in all, most of these dragons are pretty much absent, except for very few, maybe like Alistraza, maybe like Ysera, almost completely absent in the game right now, just because they're too slow. But I wanted to show you guys some fun. In my opinion, this is like the spirit of the dragons. They are really cool cards. Just like a lot of the cards in Hearthstone, it's just a little bit of a shame that the constructed meta is so finely tuned, so aggressive, that if you do decide to play these cool cards, you will probably lose. And I hope that the cards introduced in Blackrock don't really suffer the same fate. I don't think they will, because I think Blizzard is pretty well aware of what's going on in their game, but on the opposite end of that, if you have some fun, friendly matches, some cool decks, you can have some pretty awesome results. So I want to show you guys some highlights. My favorite little Dragon Bro, Malygos, today, and hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys see kind of how the game needs to be paced for these cards to be viable. So we'll have to see what happens. For now, hope you guys enjoy my Dragon review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think Mini Mage is going to survive. Yeah, I think I also had lethal if I just Shadow Madness the 2-3. Mind Vision. Alright. He's gonna play a Shade here. Nope. This game is basically, no matter what, I cannot use Savage or combo until I kill him, because it's the only way I can possibly win. Not bad. Too bad I can't do anything with that right now. This is basically his only chance to try to get rid of it. Yeah, that's game over then. Let's double Flame Strike here. Look at that swipe. What did I get? Sword of Justice. Okay, I believe this is over.
For the wild.
Turns out Malygos is pretty good when it's played early for free. I want like solid creatures, just stuff that I can put on the board, or yeah, ramp. Ramp is good. If he just coins out Lord Walker Cho, it's actually problematic. I don't really want to Blood Mage here. Okay. Can you Cold Light me? No, I'm just gonna play another one. Can Malygos next turn. Could also swipe face. He has like sap and shit, so we kind of have to get rid of our hand.
Time waits for no one.
Fine. He gets to mill 1.
What's happening?
Oh shit, it's a goblin sapper. Alright. I kinda wanna save the innervates. I'm thinking he's done all his crazy crap. Kinda wanna save that too, actually. Let's go with this.
I must safeguard them.
Yeah, Vanish would be pretty good. It'll take his whole turn and only mill me 1 card though, so...
Jade Serpent guide you.
Enter the shadows.
That's pretty funny.
Presto, presto! I have no time.
The funny thing is I could mill him.
All the while.
But I'm not going to. If he gives me a bunch of cheap spells, I'm gonna give them all right back to him.
So many options.
That's amazing. You did not want to give me that. I don't know, bro. I don't care about Shadow Step. Keep your Shadow Step.
My hand is too full.
That's fine.